Jim Milam.
Here.
Glenn Redding.
Here.
Roy Martin.
Here.
Brian Staley.
Here.
Greg Wolf.
Here.
Bobby Woods.
Here.
Rodney Solons.
Here.
Jim Hart.
Here.
Ralph Quinn.
Present.
James Whiter.
Here.
David Thompson.
Here.
We have the mayor and city planner with us tonight. If nobody has an objection, we'll let them go first. So they can.
Thank you, Mr. Hart, and thank you all for letting us come talk to you tonight. I'm Jerry Johnson. This is our Public Works Director, Wade Phillips. And I want to share with you a little bit about how we got to where we are. Short time ago, maybe a month, Wade and I were invited to view a presentation from the Arkansas Game and Fish about the possibility of removing a weir. So we sat through that, and then after which we felt our city council ought to look at it. So we called a special council meeting, and at that time they returned and showed it. We also publicized it to the public the best we could. Mr. Milam came to my office prior to that showing, and he kind of shared with me some of his concerns, and we appreciated that, Jim. And then we viewed it, and then we talked to Glenn, and here we are. So that's kind of where we've gotten here. We do not have an agenda. City Council does not. It's just something that came up that needs our attention to look at, and that's what we're doing. It's going to be a process going forward. But tonight, if you have any questions, hopefully Wade can answer them.
Wade, one of the questions I have is that the Corps of Engineers was really important when this was done. They had to approve it. They provided some of the money, I understand, and all that. What type of interaction have the city had with the Corps of Engineers?
As of right now, they're not terribly involved. The Arkansas River Heritage Association, which is a group of public and private entities that's sort of been driving these river barrier removals, actually includes the Corps of Engineers. So they will be involved in going forward. They've also started to take a position that these low-head dams, really what it is, are not good. They've gone ahead and developed a nationwide permit that's in place for the removal of these dams. I don't want to say it makes the permitting process easy, but compared to normal permits, it makes it a little bit less painful. So they'll be involved. I do not expect any pushback from them if the city does move forward with it.
I've done some research, and it appears that they're doing this all over the state.
They're doing this all over the country, actually. It's a nationwide movement. Just two driving factors. The safety issue that these low-head dams present, particularly on the downwater side. If you get caught in floodwaters, it has a tendency to trap people. And second, it is bad for stream ecology. Crooked Creek, I'm sure, is something of special interest to game and fish because it is a blue ribbon bass stream on downstream. So those are the two primary driving factors that have kind of put this to the forefront across the country. And just that with the cost of replacing this infrastructure once it starts going out, it's worth looking at.
Well, I know what people I've talked to. I talked to several today, been contacted by Bud. Not all of them live in the city, but several of them did. Everybody I've talked to is in favor of moving it. And I don't know if that's a consensus as far as citywide or countywide, but
We've got lots of opinions right now. As we go through the process, if we do continue to work with Game and Fish to at least get a design to look at, that's when we'll be talking about public hearings and giving people a lot more opportunity to get involved and take a look at it.
So you're in the very beginning stages.
Yes.
Just looking at this as an idea brought to you by Game and Fish.
Correct.
So you're not jumping in there and doing anything until you have perhaps a public meeting, until you do a little more research with Game and Fish
You're correct. I wouldn't be pouring concrete this week down there getting that thing ready for this summer if we were moving that.
Do you know if that has to be dredged like you do the lake? If that is a creek, does that still have to be dredged out?
There's still gonna have to be maintenance down there, especially if we keep it as a public park setting. I mean, anytime we have a flood go down through there, we're gonna have to clean it up, but it's not gonna be the major dredging operation that we deal with right now.
To your question about who's in favor and who's not, at the city council meeting, when we ended, we asked the people in the audience to give us a show of hands. And when this thing all started, I was probably against removing the weir. But after seeing this a couple of times and talking to several people, I definitely moved to the middle. But that day, there were probably 40 people in the audience, and we asked for a show of hands. We had one person want to keep it as a lake, and the rest pretty much raised their hands. One of the interesting things, we had 3 people that were heavily involved in making it a lake. We had Ken Daly, I believe you were, but the other 3, Jeff Christensen and Ken, I believe Ken Reeves was involved. So we had 3 of those people who really wanted the lake. All 3 of those feel different about it today. So that speaks volumes to me.
I was under the assumption that there wasn't any tax money used on that except just what the city paid. I didn't know that the Corps got involved as far as.
The Corps was involved, and so was the city raised a 4% sales tax.
But the Corps didn't actually put any money.
No.
Okay.
No, they give us
That
all,
comes from the citizens.
they give us all the engineering.
So Corps did the design, and I think they
That's
oversaw the
correct.
construction.
And I'll make a couple of comments. I was on city council at the time, and the big thing was the floods in Harrison, 61 and 85. And all the property owners come to me, Joe Miller, Frank Lee Kaufman, all of them that own buildings down there. And they said, get the Corps in here and let's get a study made, and that's what we did. And I was assigned from the council to work with Frank Gillies, and we invited the Corps, and they brought an engineer in from Fort Worth, Texas. And the weir was only a part of the package. We had to redo the banks and stabilize them with rock. It was dredged and cleaned out completely, and then we had to decide where to put the weir. And that was a big decision. At first, it was going to go down closer to Ben Edding's property. But we backed off because we didn't want the lake water to back up into the canals, the drainage canals. So we cut the weir height, and we found a good location to put the weir, but after digging down to get into some base rock, so that's where the weir went. And the height was determined to the lake so it wouldn't back up into the canals. And then the other thing was that the amount of water in cubic yards of water would be adequate to slow down a high flood waters coming off of Gaither Mountain at a high velocity and hit the water as a buffer zone. That was the engineer's calculations. So the lake was a buffer zone for a high flood speed, high velocity water flow. And that's how it got to be there. And then other people like Jeff Christensen and Ken was instrumental, and the Chamber of Commerce was instrumental. And they actually helped raise the 4% sales tax that got approved by voters. My portion of today, I'd only say is make sure that we don't decrease in any way our flood control system and don't cause erosions downstream. I even put together a little sheet and I passed it to Fred, and it's pretty simple, and I'll give the mayor a copy of it. That was what we was going to propose as a resolution.
Thank you.
Is the quarter-cent tax that started this, is it still being collected? Is that the one that sunsetted?
Yeah, it's sunsetted in 5 years. I don't have the paperwork, but I think it's 5 years.
Jim, what did you give him, a resolution from who, from what?
It was just a statement that we were going to submit to our Quorum Court for a resolution. You know,
we can submit one to the Quorum Court?
not now, unless you guys feel we need one.
Well, I'd just like to comment that I appreciate y'all coming and keeping us, making us aware of this, because we've seen stuff in the paper and this and that and everything. But the 3 municipalities that are in my district, I tell them that the city's business is the city's business if I can help them. And that's the way I feel about this. This is Harrison's business. Appreciate the courtesy of information and everything, but I don't see where we even stand on that
Well,
as
maybe it's gonna
applicable.
affect your, stuff downstream, big time.
The city of Harrison participates in the National Flood Insurance Program. We actually can't do work that's going to increase flooding downstream. We will have to do the hydrologic and hydraulic studies as part of being part of our participation in that program. So I mean, the work will have to be done. I'm not going to get into questioning the engineer from back then. That weir does nothing for flood control.
Well, they say it did.
I know they say, and it helps sell, getting a lot
Well,
of those weirs built.
and
back
did in the
the,
sense the engineers calculate the amount of cubic feet of water that they required in the lake to stop a high flow velocity water.
I understand that cubic feet has to be a reserve that's available to fill.
That's correct.
Once we don't have that, the lake's always full.
And if you're doing those studies, I think that would calm a lot of
It
fears
will,
from
and
everybody.
it'll be done.
See, that- I noticed Game and Fish Commissioner Ken Reeves is here. Are you on the commission still for Game and Fish? Did you have any comments, Ken, that you want to provide?
I was kind of waiting for my chance.
Okay.
Now's your
You must be
chance.
kidding if you think they can talk or not. You know he wants to talk.
Honestly, before Ken starts, I have some more questions.
Sure.
Wade,
I did want to ask, yeah, I wanted to ask Blake one there, but go ahead, Fred.
Wade, how many miles of Crooked Creek is within the city?
Within the city limits?
Yeah.
I don't have that exact number.
Okay. Well, how far from where the dam is now, how far south does it go? You have any idea? I mean, you know.
It's down around the 65 Bridge, I believe, kind of in that area. Well, you just have
City
to
limits,
city
though.
limits.
City limits, though, right? So it's going to impact what I'm saying is this, is the first mile or two, if there is a problem, it's going to affect you all more than it is folks in the county.
It is, and the discussions I've had with Game and Fish staff, we're actually going to look at a stream restoration that's going to go further downstream than the weir, and then actually further upstream all the way to Stonewall Road. We've kind of drawn that as a line right now. It may go a little bit further to the south.
Is there any kind of timeline on this thing? I mean,
No.
is this nothing at all, I mean, within the next year or the next 2 years or something?
It kind of depends on how quick Game and Fish, you know, if the council decides to take a look at the design, Game and Fish will do the work. They'll bring back some preliminary drawings for us to look at, you know, and then if they decide to move forward with it, then there's a lot more work that would have to be done, permitting.
I have one more question, and I'll shut up, but I've got some of my constituents that live within the city limits. Are you gonna try to do a tax, like we did that quarter cents to help pay
No.
for this? We're gonna, okay.
No. There's resources available to help with these removals. Particularly the removal, there's resources available where we wouldn't be expending any funds there. The stream restoration, we would do a partnership with Game and Fish where we would be providing some materials, in-kind labor, but they would be sort of driving that project, and we would help them where we could just to keep costs down.
Again, Mr. Mayor, you did say you would plan on having a town hall type meeting. And
Yeah, we'd have a public hearing
Before you went to.
before anything was approved, and then this would go through 3 readings anyway. So we're not going to rush to anything, especially with this. I'm just happy to stand next to a smart guy. He really is. He gets it. He
I
gets
appreciate
it.
both of you. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't get it, but what I was hoping, and I guess this is what a politician would hope, and I don't claim to be that, but I don't hope this is a 50-50 deal. I hope it's lopsided one way or the other, because we don't need a division amongst us.
You don't need a road diet, do you?
We don't need a road diet. That's a good one, good quote.
That is. Mark that down somewhere.
So,
That was week one for me.
I hope it goes that route, because if it doesn't, I'm going to recommend to the council that we not move on it. That's kind of how I feel today, and I have learned that the more you learn, the different you feel sometimes. So, Ken?
Commissioner Ken?
Well, just thanks for the opportunity to come speak to you. And the only reason I'm here is I heard the Quorum Court was thinking about adopting a resolution opposing removing the weir. And I'm just here, first of all, to say, I think your point's well taken. Do you even need to take a position as a Quorum Court? And secondly, I think it'd be premature to do it right now. There's a lot of studies to be done. I got involved because I happened to be a member of the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, and it was actually some members of the public. And I really think it probably was precipitated by the loss of John and Amy Lyons, and everybody's focus was on the creek and on Lake Harrison and dredging it, the expense of dredging it. And I was asked, you know, does Game and Fish have anything to offer? I said, well, we have stream teams. And frankly, I had no idea how much expertise they had until we got into this. And we had that first meeting with the mayor and some other interested parties and Wade. And I was frankly floored at how much experience they had with this. They pointed out that back at the time we did this, doing low-level dams, weirs was very, very popular. People were doing them all over the country. And it turns out that they're not everything everyone hoped they would be. And a lot of people have taken them out. And just from my own personal perspective, not as a commissioner, just someone who grew up fishing that creek when he was a little bitty boy, I was very much in favor of Lake Harrison. I thought it was just a beautiful idea, and it is beautiful coming off Harrison Hill to see it until you get right down on the bank of it, and then, you know, it's just been a big disappointment to me. I thought the kids would be out there swimming and people sitting there fishing and kids in kayaks and inner tubes, but it's so nasty I would let my grandkids get in it today, the time of year when you really want to be down there. Now, in the winter it looks fine. But anyway, we had these meetings, and there's no urgency about this. There's a lot to be looked at, but there is an opportunity, and the reason I think that it needs to be addressed now, and I learned this from our stream team people, there are funds available to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to pay the entire cost of removing the weir and then going down below to that low water bridge and taking it out and replacing it with one that has what's called bottomless culverts. That allows Crooked Creek to be a free-flowing stream. Fish and other animals and wildlife and fish, you know, can move up and down the creek just like they could if there's nothing there, because these culverts, the bottom of it is just the creek bottom. And this can all be done at no cost to the city of Harrison. Then you get back, you know, it's just a matter of whether or not you like Lake Harrison enough to keep it and spend the money every 4 or 5 years, $300,000 worth it is to dredge it, because it's a sediment factory and it always will be. That's just the nature of a weir. Or go back to a free-flowing stream, and I guess I'm a little sentimental about it. My wife says I have this Norman Rockwellian recollection of spending my time on Crooked Creek catching crawdads and all that. And it was a lot different then. Willow trees everywhere. I mean, Home Ice Company and Edwards Grocery were right on the bank of the creek before the flood. But that changed it all, and of course, urban renewal came in and dredged the channel so it carried more water to help avoid flooding. Plus, we lost the Willow Street Bridge, which is the reason Pearson flooded. It became a dam. But anyway, there's a lot of history here. It's an interesting issue. I'm not here to try to say you one way or another, but I'm kind of like the mayor. I was pretty impressed with the presentation our people made, and they're not the only people involved. And I'm not here to argue with my good friend Jim Mile. I go to church
You're
with
not
him,
arguing with me.
but I think part of this would be to get an opinion from the Corps of Engineers and our stream team people. They will tell you that they've now determined weirs like this actually are worse in a flooding situation, because it fans the water out, creates pressure on the outside of the weir, things I don't know enough about to tell you. But I'm just here to encourage you to not get in a hurry to adopt a resolution. Let's get the studies in. Our stream team people are coming back, I think, Thursday to meet with some of the city council people. I was told today that the Nature Conservancy has a stream restoration project, and I think the young lady that's in charge of it actually is from Harrison, Joy Lawson, and she's very excited about looking at this. I've had some friends say, well, There's times when the creek doesn't look that good, and that's true. You know, in August, it gets down to be pretty small, but there are things that can be done if the weir was removed to make it more attractive and more usable by building jetties out in, you know, the creek with either riprap or concrete, creating pools kids can get in, that you can fish in and stuff like that. And there's actually the potential for some money to help pay for that. So it's a deep subject, no pun intended, but I do think it's worthy of a look, and I think it's worthy of a fairly quick look, because this money from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service may not always be there. If it turns out someday that we wish we'd taken the weir out, it'd sure be nice if we got to do it and have somebody else pay for it.
Ken, the two other agencies involved, NRCS would definitely be involved in it.
I think so.
And ADEQ would be involved in it, because you can't do nothing without their approval.
I'm not sure about that part. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, they'd have to be, because I can't even remove gravel with my front end loader.
Yeah, and you may be exactly right, Jim. There may be other agencies that have to weigh in.
I know there's, NRCS has got control of springs now
Yeah.
in Arkansas.
But I would encourage you, if you decide you want to consider doing a resolution, that you let our game and fish stream team come and make a presentation to you, and give you the, you know, you just need to get the whole story before you.
I didn't know we were gonna do a resolution.
I don't know that the whole quorum.
I don't think that was ever gonna be done now.
Go ahead and see what Jim
No,
passed
no,
out.
it wasn't. It was just we talked the other night, Fred brought it up the other night, and all we talked is that we wanted a study done to reevaluate and make sure that it would not cause any additional flooding or any additional erosion.
Well, I can tell you this much, the head of our stream team says that it not only will not create any additional flooding, the existence of the weir is actually now probably more of a potential danger.
Well, see, we've been 18 years
Right, and
without any flooding.
And I'm not saying the Corps of Engineers will agree with me. I think it'd be good to get their opinion, because this is what they do.
Yeah.
But now, our stream team people do this, this is how they make their living. They do it every day, and they're doing this all over the state of Arkansas, and they're very capable. They don't have a dog in this hunt. They just think a free-flowing stream is better than a low dam or a weir for the ecology. And one other thing they pointed out that I didn't realize, and they'll show you this if you have their presentation, when the water's going over the weir, you know, and I had this vision of kids being out there playing, maybe it's a blessing that they haven't been, because if a child or a person goes over a weir, when the water's really running strong over it, they're just virtually guaranteed to die, because there's an undertow. And they say it'll actually keep the canoe underwater for 15 minutes.
Yeah, they call it a washing machine.
Yeah,
Like that.
washing machine.
That's true.
That's the term they use.
That's true of a concrete slab too also. We've had more.
Right, well, water bridges have the same
Yeah, we've
effect
had more
sometimes.
trouble with no water bridges than anything.
And I know they really also have another program that may be of interest to the county, and that is replacing some of these low water bridges with these bottomless culverts. That way fish and stuff can move. And if you put enough of them, you don't ever increase the velocity of the water. Jim knows that. If you got enough culverts for it to go through, you're not going to increase the velocity, so fish and stuff can just pass right on through. So,
They can go upstream and downstream.
right. And that's kind of what our people are interested in, the fish and stuff like that. But they're also very interested in the safety part, and I think that's an issue too.
Well, Commissioner Reeves, I appreciate what you said. I went to the mayor because there was a comment made at a committee meeting that there may be a resolution. I felt it was early. Some of the other Quorum Court members felt it was too early, that we thought we should see what the city was doing and what studies they were going to do before we did something like that. And that's why I invited the mayor here tonight and Wade.
Well, I appreciate
And I'm
you
glad
doing
you
that.
came along, because I think it was premature to try to make a decision on anything when they're just now at the beginning stages of investigating.
Well, I appreciate you doing that,
Thank
and I'll
you.
tell you this, the city is being very methodical about this and very careful. It's a big issue. I mean, I had some friends, you know, I had lunch with the day before yesterday, said, we really don't want to see that go. We remember times when the creek didn't look that good. And that's true, there will be times. There's times when Lake Harrison didn't look that good too.
And I reserve my opinion until I learn more about
Right.
it and until they do more before I'm even going to make an opinion. You know.
Any other questions? Thanks for the opportunity to
Thank
visit
you,
with
Ken.
Thank you very
Terry,
much.
Wade.
One observation, if you get down there too close to that thing at certain times of year, that gooseman there gets slick.
This is true.
No.
Well, I know the city's looking at, I mean, we all know that it's gotta be dredged depending on the conditions, every 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it costs $250,000 or more. That's an expense that's just built in. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Ken, Terry, Wade. Judy, since I've kind of wrecked the agenda already, if you want to go next.
Sure.
We can do it.
That's good, Judy.
Can I borrow Wade to have somebody smart to stand next to me as well?
No, I got him. Sorry.
You're smarter than anybody.
Just Snavely raising his hand saying, pick me, pick me.
Well,
Okay.
I can already see you need some help. You've got this upside down.
Maybe not.
Hey. All right. Recently, in the last few weeks, I went before the state Arkansas Department of Aeronautics and asked for a 80-20 grant with the state for some improvements out to develop our north end. And that grant was approved for $250,000, which would mean a $300,000 grant or a project. And the 20% of $50,000 would be in-kind services through the college. So the college will be providing all in-kind services with doing the access road, which will start over here. Now I'm all backwards. Help me, man. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the state police right here, and the gate will be right here. So we're doing an access road that'll come over here. This ramp here is already in place. We built this with the college and a state grant in 2012 and with y'all's help in 2012. So we already got the ramp in place, ready for hangar development, but we've never had utilities or a way to get to it. So we're wanting to run utilities from where they stop over here and bring them on over to this area to be able to, we're hoping private funding, different pilots have talked about it, and they're in need of hangars. We're out of hangar space. We have a waiting list, and hangars, it's hard to get funding for it through the state right now. So we're hoping if we get the utilities ran over here, this will develop with private hangars and we just do land leases. So while we have the opportunity with the college, it will be basically 100% paid for once it's complete. But that's where y'all come in, because state grants have to be paid 100% before I get the reimbursement. So I would need the Quorum Court and the county to carry the $250,000 until we're complete and finished with the project, and then reimburse 100%. And it will be an as-you-go, and with the college involved, it's not going to be a fast project, and it will, they won't even start now until fall when school starts back up. So it's not going to be anything fast. We're hoping to get some bids out and go ahead and do the utility work maybe this summer, but then the road part will be later. So
Do you think it'll be done this fiscal year?
I do not. I really don't. When the college, it could be, but I really seriously doubt it. In talking to, the college, they've got some other projects that they had promised to do, and then ours came along, and they're going to kind of work ours in. And so I'm not sure, and a lot of it's weather dependent as well. I think it could be next spring before the college finishes with theirs in 2020. But I don't know that for a fact.
But you have the grant tied up where it can't get away.
The grant is secured, and we're good to go, and I just don't want to proceed with anything until I know we have a way to pay for it as we go.
Is that first one there, is it just the one, or is it both of them?
No, this is a vision that we did back when we did this in 2012. It's old board, but right now we just have this ramp right here. So we got about 22,000 square feet of ramp. And so we have room for 3 hangars to be constructed. And we're just going to do the road through here and stop it, right in here until we see the layout of the actual hangars that are going to be built. And then we can always come back later if we need to, you know, for a grant to help with some site work to develop the grant. But we're, this should all be land lease, and if y'all are aware, on our land lease for hangars, it's a 25-year land lease, and at the end of 25 years, the hangar reverts to the airport, becomes property of the airport. So, and that's the only way the FAA will allow you to do that. But we do have 3 hangars right now that are privately owned. And we've got, you know, some very serious talk and inquiries about building different individuals that I believe will happen if we can get them some utilities.
About how much does a land lease bring in?
Right now, our rate is around 32 cents a square foot.
I will say Judy met with the finance committee last week, and we agreed to recommend passage of the loan. With it not being completed this fiscal year, it may affect our carryover. I don't know, David, will we be able to count that loan as an asset?
I don't think it comes, I mean, it wouldn't come through in the funds to budget. I think it'd be less funds to budget. I don't think it's quite like assets or like that, but it's not gonna impact us because we've got the savings and it's a short-term thing, so yeah, it's not a problem. We've done it several times before, and they've always done a really good job. And
I hope it's done this year, but I'm not going to make any promises on it.
it's a free way for us to facilitate, to assist in improving our airport.
Right.
And the other good aspect of it is, since it's a state grant, you don't have to pay for no audit, stinking audit.
You know, this is a great project for partnership with our college as well, you know, with the county and the college.
Well, if you fix up new money,
Justice Wood.
I don't see an ordinance here to do this. Do we need an ordinance or just a motion?
Well, it's not an appropriation, so we can.
We need to vote on
I think
it.
y'all could give the approval to go ahead, and at some point, I think we'll have to pass an ordinance.
Okay. Well, I would move that we proceed with this, with the funds to cover this grant for the airport as requested.
Let's say we complete a grant application and all that, there'll be at some point, this body's going to have to pass an ordinance appropriating that temporary money.
I'm not sure whether that would be put in, I can't remember for sure whether it's put into like a line item or something that would be used out of or as needed. Do you remember?
You know, Tommy took care of it.
I think the last time we took it out of the general fund.
Yeah.
Judy, what did you do? Just go down and get the money as needed? Like
When-
you needed to make $50,000?
When I got an invoice, when I received invoices, then I would make a copy of it and send it to Tommy.
Tommy,
And
get you a check.
he would then call and tell me a check was ready, and I'd go and deposit our account and write a check on the airport account to pay the invoice. We're gonna start with our engineering, you know, design, you know, soon.
I get it.
So I'll start getting invoices. I mean, they're not gonna be big, but I'll start to be getting some invoices in the next, you know, couple of months.
Okay, have a motion to move forward. Do I have a second? Okay. Any other discussion?
I do. How soon do you see this completed and us being reimbursed? Is it next year in the fall or?
It's really dependent on the college and their schedule. We're at the mercy of the college. It's in one of those, you know, contracts where we bid out and we can hold somebody's feet to the fire. You know, because they're doing us a favor. They're saving us $50,000 by doing the in-kind work. So it's really dependent on their schedule.
Is your question actually, does she know how long it takes to reimburse us after it's done?
Yeah, I was just looking for
Do you know, Judy, how long
close
it takes?
to-
Once the project's totally complete and I have all my canceled checks, I submit it to the state. And usually within 4 weeks after I send it to the state, the Department of Finances, you know, send us the check back. And sometimes sooner than that, 4 weeks is the max.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you for going down there and doing that, Judy. Thank you for getting that grant.
Fly here, so we did fly off.
Involved in that.
Okay, we can do this, advised by voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Let's build it, Judy.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get back on track now. I need a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda.
Motion, Jim.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've taken care of new business already. So we have a couple of appropriation ordinances.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We can skip it, it's okay. It's all right. Okay. Beginning balance for county general was $2,086,518.53. Revenues for the month were $373,492.77. Disbursements for the month were $470,631.50. Beginning balance for county road was $2,042,820.95. Revenues for the month were $161,522.44. Disbursements for the month were $108,588.76. Resulting in a balance for county road of $2,095,754.63. 1/4 cent sales tax revenue was $116,654.44. 1% county sales tax revenue was $265,596.46. General revenue turnback was $14,759.08. Highway revenue turnback was $89,378.59. 1/2% state highway tax was $47,705.18.
Okay. Any questions? Come on, somebody ask her.
I feel like.
That's what I was trying to think, something after, but I don't really know what that is.
Thanks.
Okay, now,
Mr. Chair, I think the law enforcement committee had an update on the jail.
Well, I think the judge announced the architect pick, which is Mr. Enos. And then I was absent at the last committee meeting. The Honorable went ready and run that for me, and we had an ordinance pertaining to SRO. That's basically what went on. Anything else, Glenn?
No, this, they were just wanting to know about the jail and where you're at with it.
Well, Mr. Enos will proceed forward when he knows that we've appropriated the funds. And that will be in the next Budget and Finance Committee meeting. And then it's go ahead after that if we proceed.
you got anything to say about roads and bridges?
No, just that the work on the election center is done, and I understand that the county clerk is ecstatic about it.
Static.
No leaks anymore.
No leaks anymore.
Just a smiling fleas.
Mildly.
But you don't get it static.
Okay. Anything else before we move to the appropriation ordinances?
Under announcements and presentations,
Okay.
I would just like to mention that it was in the paper today, and coincidentally, we're meeting today, 150 years for Boone County. I thought it was kind of a neat coincidence, and I just wanted to mention that, and issue a thank you to Carroll County and Marion County for the land. And, just, 150 years, that's a long time. So anyway, I thought it was a pretty cool deal, and just wanted to announce that.
Okay.
Roy, you probably remember
Judge,
that.
Judge, he's getting out of control, have you noticed that? Huh? You want me to take care
Jump
of
right
that?
in there.
Oh.
Okay, appropriation ordinance number 1 submitted by Justice Widener.
I move we place this ordinance, we read this ordinance.
I second that.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Read on.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Boone, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance amending the annual budget for Boone County for the fiscal year 2019, and authorizing the county judge to administer such budget and for other purposes. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of the County of Boone, State of Arkansas,
150 years.
150-year-old county in the state of Arkansas, Section 1, and the following ordinance shall be made from, the following appropriations shall be made from the county general fund number 1,000 to 1,000-0400-109, Sheriff's Office Personal Services Health and matching $47.40 to 1,000-0800-1009 Veteran Services Personal Services Health Insurance and matching $38.76. This sum, $86.16 is funds that were received from COBRA from previous employees who are continuing coverage with no new funds appropriated. If any provision of this provision or section of this ordinance is held invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, such invalidity shall not affect other provisions or sections of this ordinance, and to such end as provisions and sections of this ordinance are considered inseparable. This ordinance is hereby enacted is an appropriation ordinance and therefore effective immediately. And I move for adoption.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Jim Mallon,
Yes.
Glenn Reddy,
Yes.
Roy Martin,
Yes.
Brian Stanley,
Yes.
Fred Wolf,
Yes.
Bobby Woods,
Yes.
Rodney Sullins,
Yes.
Jim Hart,
Yes.
Ralph Gwynn,
Yes.
James Widener,
Yes.
David Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, appropriation ordinance number 2 submitted by Justice Reddy.
Justice Naley had brought this to me because he wasn't going to be here for the committee meetings, and when I brought it up, there was some discussion about us not needing an ordinance, so I went back to the table and did some looking at it, and I noticed that it was, the original ordinance was from the resource fund to the resource officer funds, and the sheriff, I contacted him and I brought that to his attention, and he said that his people had accidentally done that, that it was supposed to be out of the general fund and not out of his resource fund, because he has to put money in there for a part-time employee out of Lead Hill, that the Lead Hill school will reimburse us back. But they don't have one there now, that Lead Hill was paying for that, they terminated that employee, that left it open, and so they came to the sheriff, and the sheriff is going to us to pay for a part-time employee. So
Okay, let's do a motion and second, and then we'll do discussion.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'd like to make a motion to read it by title only, excuse me, by title through section 1.
Okay. Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Read away.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Boone, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance amending the annual budget of Boone County for the fiscal year 2019 and authorizing the county judge to administer such budget for other purposes. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Boone County, Arkansas. Section 1, the following appropriations are appropriated from General Fund 1,000 to School Resource Officer Fund 3034-0400. From County General Fund 1,000 to 3034-0400-1002, School Resource Officer Personnel Services Salaries, part-time $3,300. To 3034-0400-1006, School Resource Officer Personnel Services, Social Security matching of $252.45. To 3034-0400, 1010 School Resource Officer, Personal Services, Workers' Comp, 6237. To 3034-0400, 1011 School Resource Officer, Personal Services, Unemployment, 3630. The sum, $3,651.12, represents the total part-time salary and benefits for a part-time school resource officer, which has been requested by Leadville School District. This creates a part-time school resource officer position, which the Leadville School District has agreed to pay all wages and benefits. I move to adopt.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
I got a question. Would the treasurer bill Leadville, or who's gonna bill Leadville for the return money?
I don't know who bills Leadville. The sheriff told me that they would be reimbursing the total amount, the school board would.
I understand that. Who does the billing? Our treasurer or the sheriff's office?
They'll have to coordinate that. Sheriff's office probably has the treasurer do the billing, or he can do the billing and give money to the treasurer.
Yeah.
It goes the same place either way.
Let's make sure
Yeah.
that somebody follows this up.
But I had contacted David Thompson and asked him to contact the Arkansas
Association.
Arkansas Association of Counties to get their opinion on it, which he did do. David, you want to stand on that?
Well, I mean, it's, you know, pertaining to the idea of whether we needed an ordinance or not. It's a new position, it's new money, you gotta have a new ordinance. I mean, there's no other way to track it. There is the SRO budget, but the only way that budget is created is from the money that comes in, dollar for dollar. Alpena, Valley, Bergman, all of them, dollar for dollar, what it costs the county to employ that deputy to be there, that's what the school pays. So it's pass-through monies, as far as that goes.
I don't understand it that way. The way this reads, we're taking money out of the sheriff's school resource fund that he already has, and he's already approved the budget for.
That's what
No,
it says right here.
no, it's not, Fred.
No, you may have the wrong one, it's from general fund.
I've got the one.
That changed, Fred, they changed this all now.
And see, the only money that's in that fund that you're talking about, it can't work that way. The only money that's there is to go out exactly for the ones they've got now. So if you can have another one. Now, the road department, here's a different way. Looking at it, the road department, they have a position, and we funded it, but they may not have somebody hired.
That's the same thing I got right there. It said it's coming out of Boone County Sheriff's Department, school resource officer.
That's not the current one, Fred.
No.
That's what you just told me.
No,
They
that's
changed
what we read.
it.
General fund one.
General
Yeah.
fund now, Fred.
And what'll happen is then the general fund will be reimbursed. The only reason money's in that SRO line item or whatever is to be expended for
Like
that purpose.
grant, y'all take out general fund, put it in resource fund, he pays the people, then school districts pay it back to general.
Well, if we do that, we need to revise the budget.
That's what the ordinance does.
This says, at first, to administer such budget and other purposes. This amends the annual budget in every one, it says that. Every appropriation.
The annual budget.
Yeah, it amends it by this much.
And
We kind of overlook that when we're reading that, but we are amending the budget in effect every time we do one of these.
And that money is going to be reimbursed to the county.
That's ordinance.
Yeah, well,
I apologize to the folks that attended, but the stuff that I got was that one.
Well, Shirley sent out a second one this afternoon after she modified it, and I don't know why you didn't get it. She sent it.
Yeah, she mailed.
Well, because I don't live on my computer, I actually work.
And I also consulted Ron Kincaid for his advice.
And I tell you, I'm working too, it's not much crap
Well,
for me.
my life don't revolve around the computer, I'm honest with you.
it's not that big of a deal. We've got, it's a little bit akin to the airport deal. That's gonna come out of the general fund somewhere, and then it'll be reimbursed to the general fund.
I understand that, I understand the concept,
Okay.
I don't have no problem with that.
Okay.
But
The way yours read
the way
was
that mine read
from
was
to.
entirely different than what y'all are saying. It's like we were revising the budget and all that.
But we are.
You're absolutely correct, Fred, that's why.
But it's coming back in, it's not, we're not revising, it's not coming out of county funds. We are advancing it, and then the school's gonna pay us back, so we're not advancing our money. We're not spending county money to hire a resource officer.
Initially,
Yeah, we are.
Valley, Blood Hill is paying for
We
it.
have inflated the budget by $3,651.12.
They're saying that at the end of the year, they pay it monthly, however y'all work it out, that'll be done.
We have increased the budget by $3,500,
Which goes into his reserve.
which it goes into the
officer fund, so
SRO,
he can pay
which will be
it.
reimbursed, but that's how you keep track of everything. We do it, and then it's tracked from there by the auditors. What part don't you understand?
We're not spending any more money. It's just like making her a loan for $250,000.
The county is expending
It's coming back to us. It's coming back to us. We're
But
gonna
we're
tax
still
her
spending.
$250,000.
But we have to have an ordinance for it to pay that $3,000 to the reserve officer fund, so he can pay it.
Okay, imagine before we had it, and then imagine after we had it. It's gonna cost us $3,600 more. So we are changing the budget.
It's not gonna cost us a dime. How is it gonna cost us money?
Well,
when we
it's
get
gonna
paid
cost
back?
Lead Hill School,
It's gonna cost less.
but it's gonna inflate our budget by it passing through our budget. It doesn't cost us. It doesn't, but it does inflate our budget because it passes through.
So our $250,000 we're doing the airport is gonna inflate our budget too.
No,
Well, it's the same
it'll
thing.
deflate it for a little while, then it'll inflate it.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Judge, they're out of control. Maybe you got a mallet or something up there?
It's all a wash.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
worse, but we're not, well,
It's the difference looking at it on a business financial statement, looking at it on a government financial
When that
statement.
resource officer's first paycheck comes due for the month, Boone County's gonna advance that money into the sheriff's resource fund, they're gonna pay the guy, then the school's gonna pay the guy. So you're advancing money on one hand and getting back maybe 30 days
I
later.
understand.
And when it cycles normally, I think they normally issue that check when school starts or whatever, that's the school's fiscal year, July 1.
Well, let me ask you this, is that the way all the schools in our
Boone
county?
County did it.
But see,
Lead Hill had done it through the
No, it's
PD.
not the way all schools are
I
doing
don't think so.
the reserve fund, the reserve officer fund only had enough money in it for the officers already employed as reserve.
Yeah. But Alpena writes a check to Boone County.
SSRO officers,
Yeah.
okay? Alpena was not included in that.
Okay.
Excuse me, Alpena.
Valley.
Lead Hill was not.
No, that's right, they never had
Because
one.
Lead Hill, the city of Lead Hill paid for that.
Yeah.
They
Well,
terminated that
I think the
officer.
school may have paid for it, but it was done through the PD. It's the only one in the county that was done through the PD rather than the sheriff's office. Now, Lead Hill is doing it the same way that the other schools are doing it, and their money flows exactly the same way. We receive the money to expend it, yes. It doesn't cost us any new money, you're right on that, but it does inflate our budget because it passes through. 911, we don't have anything to say about it. These automation funds, we don't have anything to say about it, but it's still part of our budget and makes the aggregate total. Does that help? It gets muddier and muddier.
Don't help at all.
Okay. Talk to Mike, he can explain it to you. I mean,
I'd call for the question.
Do we have a motion on it?
Yeah.
We got a motion second.
Roll call.
Okay.
Glenn Redding,
Yes.
Roy Martin,
Yes.
Brian Stanley.
Yes.
Fred Wolf.
President.
Well, that's just over.
7 more left.
That's not an option. Okay. Bobby Woods.
Yes.
Robbie Solins.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Ralph Witt.
Yes.
James Widener.
Yes.
David Thompson.
yes, twice.
Did you want the president?
One for him.
Okay. Jim Highland.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody got anything else? Anybody here from the public want to say anything? John?
I must have been asleep or something, but Bobby made a motion, and it was seconded to go ahead with the airport thing, and then what happened?
We had a voice vote.
We have vote approval.
So it was approved?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I
But
thought.
no money was approved.
No, he's gonna have to do, we're gonna do an ordinance to get the money.
You're gonna go ahead and do the
Yes.
ordinance, and then it has,
It'll be done in committee, and then it'll come back.
then it'll have to be
to the full
voted again.
council. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, the actual money will be voted next time. But this is to kind of give Judy the go-ahead to go ahead.
This program is brought to you as a public service of KTKO Channel 8, Harrison.